Hello, everyone. Welcome again to this series of Facebook Live training. Again, if we haven't met, my name is Sharon Sidhu, and I'm a certified financial education instructor, leadership, and adult learner trainer. During the day, in my day job, I'm a corporate leadership development trainer at an international company, and I'm also the founder of 2.0, which is a training company dedicated to helping women and moms overcome financial anxiety to experience financial wellness. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2 steps to change your financial behaviors for good. So before we start going into the details of the 2 steps, I wanted to ask you if you've ever had changes that you wanted to make in your life but just can't seem to. For example, maybe it's to quit smoking, or maybe you want to eat healthier or work out at the gym, spend less time on social media, and maybe you want to save more money. How do you usually go about making that change? Well, if you're like most people, and I was like that as well, usually after you have identified a change you want to make, you then work backwards from that outcome that you've identified, and then you figure out how you're going to achieve that outcome. So good habits like exercising regularly, or eating more healthily, these are all fine and good, and they're usually doable for a day or two, or even for a couple of weeks. But as we all know, like the New Year's resolutions that we make and break shortly after, it gets difficult and it becomes a hassle after a while. And I wonder if you also find yourself rationalizing your way, out of doing something in the long term. I know I have when it comes to working out. I used to tell myself, oh, I'll give myself a break today, or I had a really late night last night, so I'm going to sleep in and skip my gym workout. So that's very normal, and a lot of us do that. The thing is, when it comes to changing our behavior, or, changing our habits, it's challenging because we're often either changing the wrong thing, or we're trying to change our habits in the wrong way. So for today, I'm just going to be focusing on changing the wrong thing. The second thing, which is about changing habits in the wrong way, it's actually a much longer discussion. So if you're interested in that, I teach that in my course, and you can sign for the waitlist to be on the course, and I'll let you know once the course is open for registration. I'll put the links at the end of today's lesson. So both are important for behavior change, but the reason why I'm focusing on the first thing, which is the wrong thing, is that this is something that most people don't usually think about when they're trying to change their behaviors. So when we talk about changing a behavior, there are 3 layers that we need to consider. The first outermost layer is your outcomes. This is the what. What do you want to change? And this is the starting point for most of us. The middle and second layer is your process. So this is the how. How are you going to achieve that outcome, that change that you want? Again, very common. Once we've identified the outcome, the what that we want to achieve, then we try to figure out the how are we going to get that goal. Then the innermost and a third layer is your identity, or the who. And so these are the 3 layers when it comes to changing behavior. And most people, like I said, tend to start from the outcome. So they start from the outermost layer when they're trying to make a change. So maybe we have outcomes such as, you want to lose weight, you want to make more money, maybe you want to work out more and eat more healthily. So these are outcomes. So once you've identified that outcome, what do most people do? They then focus on the process. For example, they might focus on cutting down their food portions. They might focus on cutting expenses or getting a promotion to earn more money, or maybe doing more reps at the gym, or having a salad instead of a heavy meal for lunch. So these are all good habits, but they are still all outcome focused. When you focus on the outcome you want to achieve, when you're designing behavior change, you are working from the outermost layer of change first, the outcome. You're looking at the extra money you want to make or the extra pounds you want to lose. Then you start looking at how you do it, which is then you move into the middle layer of the change, which is the process of how you're going to get your outcome. You try to save more, you work for that promotion, or you look for the kind of exercises to do to lose weight. There's nothing inherently wrong with this approach. It's good to have specific outcomes that you want to achieve and figure out the processes to get to those outcomes. But what I'm saying is, in order to have long term, sustained change, you need to do something different. I mean, if you want different results, you have to have different inputs, right? So most people don't consider the innermost layer, which is your identity or the who. What kind of person makes lots of money and is financially successful? What kind of person eats healthily and exercises regularly? This is the innermost layer of your identity. So, identity was also the topic we talked about 2 weeks ago when we talked about your money stories and belief. If you missed that, you can click on the link at the end of this today's session, and you can watch that episode where we talk more about your money stories, your beliefs, and how they can form your identity. So, if you want sustained long term change, you must first of all know what kind of identity you want to have, in order to achieve the outcomes that you want. So, instead of working from the outermost layer, from the outcomes first, we start from the innermost layer of your identity first. So, what is your ideal identity? Who do you wish to become? Once you know the answer to that question, then you have to shift your current identity to your ideal identity. And this requires you to change the way you look at yourself. If you want more money and you want to be financially successful, but your identity is someone who consumes rather than creates, then you're likely to continue to be pulled by that old identity towards spending rather than earning. Another example, if you're looking at, getting away with doing the least amount of work in your job, then you're likely to be perceived as someone who isn't offering, incredible value to the company, to your bosses. And so it becomes very difficult for you to negotiate for a pay rise to earn more in this particular example. But if you start shifting your identity to be a financially successful person, and you're constantly looking at how you can create value for customers you serve, then you're likely to start attracting money to you because people will willingly pay you to solve their problem or make their life better. So it's hard to change your behavior if you don't change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. So you may have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't actually changed who you are. So how do you shift your identity? Well, the first simple way is just start with your language. If you ask two people who are trying to quit smoking, and you ask them, hey, let's go have a smoke, here are two possible responses. Person A might say, no thanks, I'm trying to quit smoking. And person B might say, no thanks, I don't smoke. Who do you think is more likely to be successful at quitting smoking? Yes, person B, because person B's identity is one where he or she isn't a smoker, whereas person A is still identifying himself or herself as a smoker. So the first thing you can do to change your identity is to watch your language and change the way you speak about yourself, especially to yourself. Those inner voices in your head, the way you speak to yourself, those are really powerful in helping you to shift your identity. So you want to stop saying, I'm just the sort of person who wants this, And you want to start saying, I'm the type of person who is this. Here are some examples that show you the difference between wanting this versus is this. So you can change from saying, I want to make $10,000 a month, and change it to become someone who makes what, $10,000 a month. Or you want to change from, I want to run half an hour every morning, and change it to, I want to become a runner. And a final example, you want to change from saying, I want to learn how to start a business, and change your language to, I want to be an entrepreneur. See, identity conflict is the biggest barrier to any kind of positive change that you want to make. Good habits and behaviors, they can make perfect rational sense. But if they conflict with your identity, you are going to fail to put them into action. And that is the reason why I talk so much about when it comes to getting better with money management. It is not enough to keep on just learning more information, more content, and knowledge when you have not worked on your inner identity, your self identity. When you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it can be very difficult to change actions that support that identity because you have accepted your stories and beliefs as fact and truth. It's become who you are. So there is internal pressure in your mind to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that's consistent with your beliefs. And you'll end up finding all sorts of ways to avoid contradicting yourself. So after you've decided on who you want to be, you can then design the behaviors that are consistent with that new identity. If your identity is to be financially successful, start taking actions that financially successful people do. For example, download an expense tracking app and track your expenses. Or, save a certain amount each month. And each time you do that action that is consistent with your new identity, you are becoming that new identity. Your identity is your repeated beingness. So this is going to be a gradual evolution. You don't change overnight or with the snap of your fingers. You change bit by bit, action by action, and day by day. So to summarize, changing your behavior for the long term requires you to start from your innermost layer of your identity. So the first step is to decide the type of person you wish to be. Who do you wish to be? And the second step is to prove it to yourself with small actions consistently with this new identity. So it's okay if you don't know what type of person you want to be. For some of us, we're not even sure what is this new identity. You can start from the outcome. It's likely that you know the outcome that you want. So start from there and work backwards to the type of person who gets those outcomes and results. You want to shift your focus from earning, $10,000, which is the outcome. I want to earn $10,000. And you want to shift your focus to being the type of person who earns $10,000. For example, I'm the kind of person who constantly looks at how best I can help my customers solve their problem. You can start speaking that way to yourself. Another way to do this is to ask yourself, what would a financially successful person do in this particular instance? Your habits and your behaviors shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits and behavior. So it goes both ways. But the most important thing to remember is that you have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is not fixed. You are making a choice about the person you are with every single small action in every single small moment. And ultimately, long-term sustained behavior change, they're not about having something. They are about becoming someone. Becoming someone you wish to be and living the life that you want to live with every small action that you take. So I kind of extracted a few of the key points to today's lessons from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is a really good book if you really want to go into the details of it, the science behind it, the psychology behind it. And I'll put a link also in the today's lesson slides. So thanks a lot for watching. Again, here are the links below. Please download the worksheet and slides for today's episode, and also sign up for the course waitlist, which I mentioned about. There was the second part about changing behaviors, which is much longer and goes much deeper into how many people actually go about changing behaviors in the wrong way. And there's actually a systematic right way to do that, so that combined with what you've learned today, you will see the long-term changes that you want. And then, of course, watch the lesson on money stories and beliefs that we talked about 2 weeks ago. And please do share this video if you found it helpful or if you think it could help someone that you know. And finally, please definitely do subscribe to my newsletter so that you can be updated about the next training, and also to receive tips on how to get the habits, behaviors, and beliefs to transform your financial life. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again soon. Bye now.